Sunrise, Tuesday. We held Uncle Heb's funeral this morning, when it was morning but not yet day. 'Fore we had to go to the fields and to the kitchen, we stopped to say farewell to Uncle Heb. He was like a loving grandfather to me. Women from the quarters came last night and helped Aunt T get Uncle Heb's body ready for burial. The menfolk went to the cemetery to dig the grave. All the folks from the quarters came, and we sat and sang and prayed. Rufus talked about the peace of death, no more suffering, no more pain. I fanned Uncle Heb's body, keeping the flies away, up and down, up and down. Then I dared touch him. I'd never touched a dead person before, and I knew it would be scary, but it wasn't. Po' Uncle Heb, he felt hard and cold, not like him. The him that used to be Uncle Heb had flew up to heaven. At the time when Aunt T say she was ready, we wrapped him in a clean white sheet and put him in a cart and carried him to the plantation cemetery where all Miss Lily's people are buried, her father and mother and grandfather. Miss Lily came, had nerve enough to cry. Ma's Henley didn't even bother to show up. How could anybody think we were lucky living close to people like them? One sweet song. Still by the river, waiting for my Savior to come for me. Going home, to be with God. Rufus spoke kindly over Uncle Heb, saying how good he was and how he had lived. I could feel the hot tears behind my eyes, thinking all the while that Uncle Heb would still be alive if Mas Henley hadn't killed him. Aunt T just looked off into space, thinking her own thoughts, never once crying. She had cried dry. Hints took it real hard. Uncle Heb had been like a grandfather to him, too. All of us, really. Spicy did what she could to comfort us, even though she had her own sorrow to bear. Everybody kept saying Uncle Heb was free at last. Why do we have to die to be free? Why can't we be free and live? Wednesday. For the first time as long as I can remember, Aunt T didn't fix fried chicken and whipped potatoes today. I wasn't the onlyest person to notice it either. Thursday. I've been trying to piece together all that's went on for the last few days. No time to grieve, 'cause our work ain't never stopped. Mas Henley wants his food served on time, and the missus wants her house cleaned, her bed made, her water brought up for baths, and on and on and on. No end to the work she thinks up for us to do. Aunt T misses Uncle Heb so much, she just shakes with hurt. Then she sings a lot. Help me, help me, help me, Jesus. Help me, help me, help me, Lord. Father, you know that I'm not able to climb this mountain by myself. Help me, help me, help me, Jesus. Help me, help me, help me, Lord. Nobody should have to live as a slave. If a slave can be an abolitionist, then I want to be one, 'cause I hate slavery and I want it to end. Friday. Whenever I write the word FLOWER, I will think of that kindly old man who grew beautiful roses and told the best stories ever. After the dinner meal, Spicy and I walked through Uncle Heb's flower beds all the way down to the river. The sunflowers were turned toward the evening sun. I remember Uncle Heb called me his little sunflower girl. He said my face always looked like it was facing the sun, full of brightness. I squeezed Little Bit, my birthday doll, which I've come to carrying round in my apron pocket. I liked the feel of the smooth wood on my hand. That would please Uncle Heb. My thoughts made me smile. Spicy found a 4-leaf clover. It's supposed to bring good luck. We sure could use some round this place. Saturday. Spicy and me took Miss Lily's bathwater up to her room. She sent Spicy out, but she asked me to stay and fan her for a while. I obeyed. Clotee, things are going to change round here. But I'm taking care of you. Don't you worry. Just promise me you won't say a word about your talk with me, about William. I never dreamed that he would do something so stupid. Stupid! I think Miss Willie is worried that if Mas Henley finds out I had warned her about William's plan to ride Dancer, and she'd done nothing to stop him, he would be really, really mad with her. Now she's trying to still my mouth with favors. What is getting ready to change round here? And how is Miss Lily going to help me? None of this makes me feel very good in the stomach. 2 weeks later. I saw the calendar in Moss Henley's office. We in August already. August 10th, 1859. So much has happened since last I wrote in my diary. I knew something was coming, but I didn't know what. Moss Henley done changed everything. Everything. Nothing's the same. First, he moved Aunt T out of the kitchen. Say he can't trust her to cook for him no more, 'cause of what happened to Uncle Heb. He put her down in the quarters to look after the babies. Then, to make it worse, he done brung Eva May up to the kitchen to be his new cook. There's more. Missy has taken Spicy's place, 'cause Spicy's been sent to the fields. I get to stay in the kitchen doing what I've been doing. I guess that's what Miss Lily meant when she said she was going to take care of me. I just as soon go to the quarters with Aunt T than stay near Miss Lily. Spicy ain't sorry to be going to the fields. She say she'll miss talking to me all hours of the night. I will miss spending hours talking to her under the stars. I will miss her stumbling and falling, then laughing about it. Things will not be the same here in the big house without her. Aunt T is who I worry about. This is the thanks she gets after all those years of service. Masters don't care how long and hard we work for them. They own us, so they can do whatever they want to us. That's the worst part of being a slave, never having a say in what happens to yourself. Third Monday in August. Everybody knows that Eva May ain't half the cook Aunt T is, but she likes to think that she is. It hurt me when Miss Lily wouldn't let Aunt T take the old iron bed she and Uncle Heb had slept in for years. The bed had been a gift from Miss Lily's grandfather to Uncle Heb for his years of service. Now Miss Lily done gave it to Eva May and Missy to sleep in. It's not right that Aunt T should have to sleep on a pallet at her age. When we abolitionists end slavery, everybody will have a bed to sleep in. Wonder will I ever get to meet a real abolitionist? Next day. A horse and buggy turned into the front gate, galloping at full speed. Whenever I write the word STRANGE, I will remember seeing Mr. Eli Harms bouncing around in that buggy, coming up the drive. The tutor is here, and I can't wait to find out about him. Monday again. The tutor's been here a week. He's a little freckled-faced man with a shock of red hair that sticks out the side of his hat. He looks like he's been pieced together from parts took from other folks. His teeth got a big gap in the middle, and his legs and arms seem a bit too long and too thin for the rest of hisself. I can't guess his years, but he's got young eyes that look at you over cloudy glasses that sits on the tip of his nose. I'll guess and give him about 25 years, give or take 1 or 2. Miss Lily fluttered on and on about how sorry she was that nobody had told Mr. Harms not to come 'cause of William's bad fall. Mr. Harms used a lot of fast words, real fancy-like, and by the end of supper he had Moss Henley and Miss Lily set on him staying on here at Belmont. I was glad, 'cause if William's study stopped, then so would mine. Trouble is, what sort of tutor was Mr. Harms going to be? After the dinner meal that same day, things in the kitchen be a big mess. Eva May got her own way of doing her own recipes. When I try to show her something, she tells me to shut up. I'm the mistress of the kitchen now. So I decided to just let her alone. Do what I'm supposed to do and keep my mouth shut, just like she say. Week later. Dr. Lamb came by. Say William was well enough to start studying, an hour or so a day, and added it would be good for the boy. The first lesson time with Mr. Harms was today in William's bedroom. I was standing in my place, ready to fan. "Why are you here?" Mr. Harms asked, looking at me over the top of his glasses. William explained that I was a fanner. Mr. Harms say they don't need a fanner. My heart sunk down to my toes. My learning would have ended right then and there, too, if William hadn't gone whining about how it was too hot. He let me say. I never thought I was going to be glad to hear William's whining. Few days later. I went down to Aunt T's cabin in the quarters after the last meal. That gave me a chance to visit with her and Spicy. She's holding her own, but it's got to be hard on Aunt T, losing first Uncle Heb, and then her job. They live in a real small cabin now with a dirt floor, no windows, only a door that don't shut all the way. Yet everybody in the quarters is seeing after Aunt T. All them years Aunt T took care of them and they children, now they paying her back with love and kindness. Ain't none of them got much, but what they got, they's willing to share. I slipped out a piece or two of day-old bread and a few leftovers for her to fill out their meal. I told them how Missy and Eva May had changed. They are thick with Miss Lily, grinnin' and smilin', gettin' in with her. Before I left, I told Aunt T about my warnin' Miss Lily about William and her not listenin'. She's scared I'll tell Mass Henley. Aunt T agreed. She took me to her heart. Be careful, child. Miss Lily ain't going to stand for you to have nothing over her head. She'll keep on till she finds something on you to use, to get rid of you, to keep you down. She'll use them two in the kitchen to help her. To win favors, Eva May and Missy will tell everything they know and then make some up. Be particular, and watch as well as pray. Now I've got to be very, very careful about my reading and writing, 'cause now Miss Lily is looking for something. Now I know how Daniel must have felt in the lion's den. Thursday night. Woke up after dreaming about Mama, all in a sweat. It was unlike any dream I'd ever had about her. She was standing beside Mr. Harms. He was smiling at me, all the while Mama was saying, "It's goin' to be just fine, baby girl. It's goin' to be just fine." Rufus say, God talks to us in dreams. If that's so, then I wonder what God is trying to tell me. Last Monday in August. Calendars say it's August 29, 1859. Mr. Harms brought a book to study time. William wouldn't read it. Mr. Harms never said a word. He opened the book and he started to read. Long ago, in a faraway place called Greece, there lived a great hero named Hercules. I knew Master John Hamby's slave named Hercules who lived on a nearby plantation. He was powerful strong too, but this was not a story about him. Mr. Harms told us how the long ago Hercules killed a big serpent. Then the teacher man stopped, closed the book, and walked away without saying another word. "There's more, right?" William called out. "Tomorrow," said Mr. Harms. I can't wait to find out more too. First day of September. There was a big race up in Winchester last week, and Hins won. Soon as he got back, he came to the kitchen to see me and to tell me all about his win. First thing, Missy comes siding up to him, like he came there to see her. He asked where Spicy was, right in front of her. I gladly told him. Monday. Mr. Harms starts each day by saying the day, month, and year. Today is Monday, September 5th, 1859. So, now I can keep better track of time. Tuesday, September 6th, 1859. William has taken to Mr. Harms like a bird to berries. I declare the boy is reading now and liking it. I'm learning a lot too. I'm adding ing to my words now, 'cause Mr. Harms made William stop saying talkin' and walkin' and singin'. It is talking, walking, and singing. I remember to write my ings, but I still forget to say my ings. Wednesday, September 7th, 1859. Mr. Harms has taken charge of William's days. 2 men from down the quarters comes up every morning and helps William get bathed and dressed. One brings William down for breakfast in his rolling chair. Afterwards we have our study time, in the cool of the morning. Just hot enough to need a fanner, which is still me. Then it's time for lunch. William eats with Mr. Harms most of the time. The rest of the day William listens to Mr. Harms read to him, or they play cards or a game called chess. William spends the evenings with his mother and father, but most of the time they spat about one thing or another, so he goes off to bed. Thursday, September 8th, 1859. I slipped out late last night, came out to write in my diary. I heard a twig snap. Someone was coming. I called out to see who it was. Missy answered, asking, "What you doing out here?" I was sitting on my diary. I told her it was too hot to sleep, so I'd come out to look at the stars. "Why do you always come back here behind the kitchen?" She was digging for a bone. "I like it back here. I can see the river and the stars." My hiding place behind the kitchen is no longer safe. I have to find a new place, safer, and real soon. Friday, September 9th, 1859. Since Uncle Heb's been dead, the garden's been looking real pitiful. I pulled a few weeds from round the roses, but it just ain't the same. I miss him, and sometimes turn round to say something to him, but he's not there. He will never be there, just like Mama. Oh yes, I learned from Mr. Harms that it's around and not round. It's something and not something. I've got more out of Mr. Harms's lesson than I ever did from Miss Lily. But there's something real different about Mr. Harms, and I can't put it to words yet. He never even looks at me. Treats me like I'm not there. Saturday, September 10th, 1859. I was digging through some of the trash in Moss Henley's study, looking for things about abolitionists and the Underground Railroad. Nothing. I can't find a thing to help me understand my list of words better. So when I just wrote FREEDOM, it still don't show me no picture. But I'm keeping my eyes open. Saturday, September 11th, 1859. Aunt T been so sad since she been turned out of the kitchen. I would do anything to help make her laugh and be happy again. I guess that's why I did a very foolish thing. I went down to her cabin to visit. After we talked, I used a stick to scratch writing on the dirt floor. C is for cat. Before I could blink my eye, Auntie had slapped me so hard I had to hold onto the tabletop to keep from toppling over. Ms. Lily ain't never hit me that hard. She rubbed out the letters with her foot. At last my head stopped swimming, and the spots before my eyes cleared up. There wasn't no anger in Aunt T's eyes, only fear. "Do you know what happens to slaves the master finds out got learnin'?" she whispered sternly. I knew they got beaten, or much worse, they got sold to the Deep South. I couldn't make her understand that I was trusting her. I knew she wouldn't tell on me. "I don't want to be trusted," Aunt T say, near tears. "Look at what trust got me. I believe Moss Henley would do right by me, 'cause I done right by him. Not so. Now look at me. Trustin' got me here. Who teach you, child?" I was scared to say, and real sorry I told her about any of it. I decided to hold back on all the truth. I teach myself just a few words. Aunt T sucked in her breath and clicked her teeth. Her face was clouded over with worry. "Don't bring trouble to your own front door," she say, biting her lip, the way she did when she was real worried. "Don't you tell another living soul that you got this little piece of knowing. You hear me?" Never have I been more sure of anything. I will not tell another person my secret, ever. After study time, Monday, September 12th, 1859. Now Mr. Harms is on to something, and I brought the trouble to my own front door. He and William was reading a play together. As usual, I was standing behind them, fanning, up and down, and reading over their shoulders. William got stuck on the word circumstances. I was so taken by the story, I plumb forgot where I was. Suddenly, my mouth got ahead of my thoughts, and I blurted out the first part of the word. "Sir," I caught myself, but not soon enough. Mr. Harms jerked around and looked at me. His mouth dropped open a little, like he was surprised. "What did you say?" "Sir? Yes, sir." "Yes, sir is what I said. Sir, may I go, please?" I was thinking fast. Lord, let me get out of this. Mr. Harms looked down at the book, then he looked back at me and where I was standing. He told me I could go, but he asked my name. He knows! Lord, what's going to happen to me? Wednesday, September 14th, 1859. I guess I was wrong about Mr. Harms being on to me. He ain't said a thing, and I'm still fanning during lessons. I let up writing for a few days, 'cause I've been too scared to go near the hiding spot, what with Missy slipping around, and maybe Mr. Harms is on to something. Thursday, September 15th, 1859. Spicy looks tired when she comes in from the fields, but she say the tobacco don't slap you in the face, and call you all hours of the night, and send you to do this or that. Spicy likes the fields better than working in the big house. Missy likes the big house. She's struck by all the sparkle and pretty of the master's house. She go around touching things and oohing and ahhing over it all. She was so busy looking at stuff, she gets careless. I have to redo some of her work sometimes to keep us both out of trouble. When I show her where she's made a mistake, Missy gets mad and starts yelling at me all hateful. "You just think you cute. Make me sick. All the time trying to talk all proper like. You're just a skinny little thing, so don't come trying to say I'm stupid." I never say she's stupid, even though I think it. And I don't try to talk proper like. Then before the evening is over, good. She's back trying to be friends with me again. She's always asking me a lot of questions about hints. I know how to get back at Missy, though. I say, "Why don't you ask Spicy?" It's hard to believe we was ever friends. Missy bears watching. Monday, September 19th, 1859. Apple harvest time is almost over. The tall men been knocking apples, and then we gathered them. I got to sort with the grown women this year, putting the big, the middle, and the little apples in barrels. It ain't the work I like, but I love to hear the women telling stories, remembering. I really like it when they tell a story about my mama. Tuesday, September 20th, 1859. I found a good hiding place for my diary in the hollow of a tree, just beyond the orchard. I feel safer coming here. My hiding place behind the kitchen was getting too dangerous. I sure miss the way things used to be when Uncle Heb was alive and Aunt T ran the kitchen. They were far less troublesome times than these are now. Later the same day. After the last meal, Missy said to me, all syrupy sweet, "We've been friends for a long, long time, but I don't know you." What was that supposed to mean? She knew me sure. "I know your name," she say, "and that you favor cornbread over biscuits. You'll take red color over green color, and you like being off by yourself. But I don't know you, Clotee. Like what makes you happy, or what makes you cry? You're not like the others. You're different. What makes you different?" I've heard those words before. Miss Lily had told me I was different, and she'd sent Missy digging for a bone. "Friends share secrets," she say, all friendly and nice. "Do you have one you want to share with me?" "No," I said, and got away from her as fast as I could. Missy is a tattler, sent straight from Miss Lily. I know it. Wednesday, September 21st, 1859. I wish I could read Mr. Harms as easy as I can read Missy and Eva May. There's something about Mr. Harms that sets me to wondering. He looks peculiar, and he acts peculiar, so people don't pay close attention to him. They don't see him all the time watching, taking in everything that's being said and done. But I do. Just a minute ago, I saw Mr. Harms standing at the edge of the orchard, looking towards the woods and beyond the river. Just looking. Made me nervous. My diary being just a few feet from where he was standing. Maybe I need to move it again. Auntie and I have not spoken about my learning since I told her. Spicy put in that she'd seen Mr. Harms watching them working in the fields. Just looking, saying nothing, just watching them work. Monday, September 26, 1859. I brought my pallet to sleep outside. The stars are so bright I can almost hear them tinkling. But tonight I heard Rufus singing, his beautiful voice riding on the wind. "Steal away, steal away, steal away home." Was that Mr. Harms I just seen heading for the quarters? I wonder who he be visiting this hour of the night. Oh well, white men sometimes visit the quarters in the dark of night, when their wives and mothers ain't watching. I'm surprised. Mr. Harms don't 'pear to be that kind of man. Tuesday, September 27th, 1859. Miss Lily left this morning to visit her daughter Clarissa in Richmond. She goes every September. She'll be gone for several good weeks. These are always happy days for us who work in the big house. She usually takes William, and she'd promised to take me this year, but William flat wouldn't go this time, and for some reason she took Missy instead. Good. I'll get a rest from both of them. I'm staying with Spicy and Aunt T the whole time, even though Eva May promises to tell when Miss Lily gets back. Friday, September 30th, 1859. Miss Lily's gone. Master went sportin'. Will be gone until Monday. William is home, but he's in his room sleeping. Mr. Harms is asleep too. Belmont is a big playhouse when everybody's gone. Spicy and me slipped up to Miss Lily's bedroom. We put on her jewelry and scarves and hats. We sat at her desk where there was all kinds of pretty paper and pens and ink aplenty. I took enough to last me a good while. We heard a noise outside in the yard. At first I thought it might be one of the dogs or a raccoon. We quick-like jumped out of the bed and ran to the window. We seen Rufus come slipping from tree to tree, then run toward the quarters. We figured he'd been out possum hunting. But a little later, I seen Mr. Harms creeping out from the other side of the woods. We watched as he stole from shadow to shadow until he reached the house and stepped inside. We held our breath until we heard his footsteps pass the door and go down the hall to his room. We quietly cleaned up, put everything in its place, and left Miss Lily's bedroom just the way we found it. What were Mr. Harms and Rufus doing out in the woods together so late at night? Monday, October 3rd, 1859. I've been staying with Aunt T down in the quarters. She takes care of baby Noah and the other children that can't work yet. When Wook came to get the baby, we got a chance to visit. She ain't seen her husband but twice since they got married. Seemed he loved another girl from his own plantation and wanted to marry her. Wook has changed a lot. She looks so sad all the time. I told her how Missy was acting, and she said she wasn't surprised. Missy has always been for Missy. Selfish. When we was growing up, I never knew that side of her, but Wook did. If I got something, she wanted it, no matter how small it was. She's put out at me 'cause I got married first. She could have got married ahead of me, and I wouldn't have cared at all. Later it was like old times in Aunt T's cabin. We sang, told stories, and Spicy and me even got to work on our quilt. Tuesday, October 4th, 1859. Mr. Harms fussed at William about saying "cause" instead of "because." I learned it too. Later I took Hince's meal down at the stables. We talked for a good while. Him and me talking is fun. The words just pop right out of my head without me thinking on them long. You ever think of running away? He studied on that for a spell. Sometimes. What would you do if you was free? I figures if I be a free man, I could hire myself out as a jockey. I'd bet on myself and win and win and win till I had enough money to buy all of y'all's freedom. Spicy, Aunt T, you, Clotee. That's what I would do. When nobody was looking, I wrote FREEDOM in flour. It still don't show me no picture. Later the same day. True to her word, Eva May told Mas Henley that I'd been staying in the quarters with Aunt T instead of in the kitchen. He spoke to me about it when we served him the last meal. Aunt T is like my mama, I said. I'd like to stay with her. You want to stay down in the quarters with Aunt T? Well, what does your mistress say about this? I haven't asked her. When she comes home, ask her. See what she says. I'll go along with what she says. You're one of her favorites. Me? I never thought of myself as being favored by Miss Lily, unless she wanted something from me. Wednesday, October 5th, 1859. Mas Henley pitched a red-in-the-face fit about Eva May's fried chicken. He called it tasteless slop. Serves him right. Tuesday, October 6th, 1859. Tonight, Spicy took me by the hand and led me to a hollowed-out tree. My heart sank when I realized that it was a tree where my diaries hid. Had she found my diary? All of a sudden, Spicy blurted out that she had a book. To prove it, she reached in and pulled out a Bible. My diary was just inches away. I've wanted to tell you about this forever, but I've been scared, she said. Spicy had a Bible that had been her mama's. My mama could read and write, said Spicy. Then she told me her mama's story. It was like others I'd heard. Spicy's mama tried to run away, but each time she got caught and beat bad. Finally, her master say if she ran away, she was going to get sold. Spicy's mama learned how to write. Took her a while. Spicy was born, and still she kept learning. Then one day, she wrote herself a pass and tried to run again. But a slave who worked in the big house told the mistress, and she got caught. Before they sent Spicy's mama to the deep south, she slipped Spicy the Bible. I done kept it all these years, Spicy said. I can't read a word that's in it, not yet. One day I will. But even if I don't ever read, I'll keep this Bible forever. It is all I have that belonged to my mama. Spicy hugged the book to her chest. Nobody in the world knows about this book exceptin' you, and I trust you won't tell, 'cause we're good friends. Should I share my secret with Spicy? Good sense tells me that I shouldn't, but I want to so bad.